is what's best for business.
I gotta go take a big hairy dump.
Oh my God!
Tonight's main event, a tag team match.
Yes!
Hello everyone and welcome to the Let's Talk More Wrestling podcast, where we are going to review the biggest pay-per-view of the year. It happened last night, WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans. New Orleans. My name is Turbo Tony. We're here with Matt Marsander, and we're going to run through our review of the big event last night, and there is plenty
That's it.
to talk
Not
about.
24 hours removed. Everything's still fresh.
Yeah, everything's still almost too fresh, shall we say.
It's quite raw, shall we say. Apply water to burned area.
Exactly, yeah. Quite the interesting show, this one. Has good parts, bad parts, very shocking parts.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
it will definitely be remembered.
Yes. Well, in terms of a memorable WrestleMania, this has to be up there. But it's whether it's for the right or wrong reasons. And we'll go into that as we go through the show. We're gonna just quickly go over all the matches on the show and all the main segments. And there really was only one real segment apart from all the matches. But yes, WrestleMania 30 taking place in the Mercedes-Benz Silverdome.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah.
The Silverdome Superdome.
Yeah, there you go. I did know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to do that. So yeah, before we get into the whole Hogan debacle, Usos were on the pre-show, and obviously we can't catch it over here because we're English, and WWE hate English people, and anyone else who's an American, it's just
you're not American. Like, WWE's a racist.
Yeah, they're very racist.
You're not American. You don't get the network. Look at all this stuff that happened. Like, Cesaro turned on the real Americans, but you don't get that.
Yeah.
You don't live in America.
It would have put some sort of context in the fact that he was in that Battle Royal, you know. But, yeah, we had no clue, so it just seemed very, very, very odd. But regardless, I hear this was a good match, and Usos did retain. It was like an elimination-style tag match. But we didn't get to see it.
Well, to be perfectly honest, when I heard it was elimination-style, I was like, well, it's pretty obvious. Matador's first, Ryback's will second, then it'll just be Usos and Americans to finish up.
Yeah, it's pretty much self-explanatory. There is absolutely no way that Matador and Ryback's all going to win the belt. So
it turns out, like, right at the end, it was Los Matadores facing the Usos for the belt. It was like, oh my god!
Yeah, but I did hear this was a good match, worth watching, but obviously we can't watch it, so we're not going to. That's the way it is. The first big segment to open up the show. I mean, just first off, as we start, the set as we previewed last, over the weekend on our prediction episode of Let's Talk Wrestling, that they actually leaked the set. When the set was actually in full set, full blast with all the lights and everything going on. It was probably one of the most impressive sets I've seen them do WrestleMania on. It was.
My only problem is the one that I did say to you. I was like, "There's lots of pyro potential there." There wasn't a lot of pyro to open the show.
No.
I was like, that was wow.
When you think of when they did it in Seattle and they had fireworks go around the actual rim of the
when Edge came out for his entrance, if you remember.
Yeah, when he gets taken, wasn't it?
Huge.
And they had like a big tower in the middle. It all went all over the tower and all around the stadium and stuff. Yeah, no, I get that as well. I mean, the arena in New Orleans is not a open air one, so obviously that kind of limits what they can do. But still, like, yeah, you could have done a little bit more. But I thought the set itself was pretty impressive, especially.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It may be
length though. Yeah. Jesus, how far from the stage to the ring?
Yeah.
Batista needed a gas mask just when he got to the ring.
Yeah, he was already blown out. Yeah, Orton almost got to the ring by the time that the everyone had gone home. And
that's it.
Yeah. Now, yeah, it was an impressive set. I don't know whether it's the fact that we just don't get many good sets on pay-per-views anymore, but this was pretty impressive. I did enjoy the set, and some of the entrances looked absolutely superb on there, and some of them didn't, but some of them did. So
that's it. We'll definitely cover that.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan came out to start the show, as you would, as he's the host. This was pretty much the length of his hosting abilities. He was nowhere near as
that was about it. We did see Hogan once more after that.
Yeah, in a really sort of
shameful showing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't nearly as much all over this show as The Rock was when he was hosting it, but that's probably kind of good. I think this is kind of as much Hogan as you need on the show. You don't need any more. I mean, the whole thing of WrestleMania 27 having The Rock host that, it was too much Rock. It was all about him, and he wasn't even wrestling on that show, which was the annoying thing about that. But So Hogan obviously does his usual spiel. He calls the Superdome the Silver Dome, which he gets a few boos, and then he kind of turns around on himself. Kudos to himself. He did kind of pick himself up. He had Stone Cold Steve Austin come out
interrupts.
to
That was. Well, the only problem is the fact you get all these leaks about. Like, this is like you know when we were talking about social media a couple of weeks back. This was one of those things that could have killed it because it's just like, oh my god, I just saw Austin in New Orleans. Oh my god, I just saw The Rock in New Orleans. It's like, oh great, but wow.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Wow.
There's not been many times that you've had Austin and Hogan in the ring together, two of the biggest draws in WrestleMania history. Not WrestleMania history, I mean the wrestling history.
Wrestling.
So it was pretty cool to have them in the ring there. For a minute, I thought that Austin was going to give him a stunner. I thought, man, you're going to kill Hogan.
I really wanted it.
Hogan will die if he takes another bump. He'll probably just fade into non-existence. But yeah, Austin. Yeah, he came out, did his usual stuff. Obviously, we thought that Austin would be there.
Flipped off the crowd.
Yeah.
Yay! No PG.
But the thing is, with Austin, we kind of knew he was going to be there because he was at the Hall of Fame ceremony, and he was front row. They weren't hiding him. They shot to him quite a lot. The big shock, though, I mean, I kind of heard that he was around in town. There was big rumors that he was going to be involved in the show, but much bigger shock than Austin being there was The Rock being there. The Rock obviously came out. Obviously,
huge.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't expecting The Rock to be there, and he came out. The guy looks like a tank. Obviously,
yeah, I was gonna say if he didn't from last year, he got bigger.
Yeah, he's bigger now than he was when he was actually wrestling. That John Cena over that period. Obviously, because he's got the movie meat, shall we call it? He's doing obviously Hercules. So yeah, he was stacked. And you look at Austin, who isn't in bad shape, but man, there was no comparing the shape of Rock. And,
that's it.
Yeah,
I mean, Austin's like not in bad shape, but he's sort of like the shape he was when he was in WWE. The Rock's like nothing like WWE Rock nowadays.
He's just stacked,
like back in the day when Rock was around constantly. It's like he was not like today.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing about this is that Rock came in, he did his usual spiel, and that it works pretty well. Because you don't have it often, it works nicely.
Old Rock was on.
Yeah, he was good, and he ribbed Hogan a lot about his Silver Dome stuff, same as Austin. So that got a nice pop. The actual ironic thing about this, that Hogan messing up that line about the Superdome actually kind of made the segment better. It made it more comical with these guys in the ring, and then obviously they had a bit of it was a feel good moment. They had a few beers in the ring, and
but that was half an hour gone.
Yeah, half an hour on this segment. It didn't feel like half an hour though.
No, not at all. Just sort of like you look up at the clock and go, wow, we haven't even had a match yet.
Yeah. Now, there isn't nearly as many matches on this card as there was last year's WrestleMania, so they could give more time, and in fact, in some cases, there was almost too much time for some of the matches.
Yes,
but
they took time out of the match as well.
Yeah, so this segment, it was okay. It was cool. It was a good start to WrestleMania, got the crowd hot. And the match that we thought that would open WrestleMania was the match that opened WrestleMania.
Yep.
Daniel Bryan against Triple H, which I will go down as saying probably the best match of the night.
Yes. And probably the best entrance of the night.
You were marking hard for that Triple H entrance.
Triple H's entrance was fucking unreal. It was like, I don't know, it's like a real conqueror sort of, like you'd expect sort of like final boss in like God of War or something.
Yeah, he's done roughly the same entrance before, but this was better than how he did it before.
Yeah.
I was always thinking to myself, what did Stephanie think about all the wenches beside him, in scantily clad wear?
Well, to be perfectly honest, Stephanie can't say anything about scantily clad dress.
Well, she was. I don't know what she was. I think maybe she was taking fashion tips from Batista. That could be possible.
Just sort of like the whole like circus mask, the jacket going on, and then shorts. It's just like easy, Stephanie. You made sex noises on Raw. I don't want to know what's going on here.
She's not helping herself here, So, did you quite enjoy that intro from last week? Then did you, Matt?
That was very well put.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, Bryan against Triple H, phenomenal match. They really did tell a good story here, and there was no, you had Steph on the outside, but there was no sort of,
there was no BS and like no interruption.
Yeah,
which was just great. It was just the pair of them. Like Stephanie added a lot to it.
Yeah, I think
Just by being outside of the ring.
Yeah, it could have been like it could have very easily her being there could have been a detriment to the match, but it wasn't. She kept to herself and she was there to bark out orders and give it a little bit extra something. So I agree with you. I think she gave the match a little extra. But these guys went out there and they went full speed, and they did really well in this match. Like I said, this match was the best of the night.
Candidate, match of the year candidate.
I would think that actually the Bray Wyatt match was a better one than this one, personally. But for the occasion and the story,
the occasion and the sort of the scale of it, like the crowd added so much to it as well.
Yeah, it was a spectacle, them going against each other, and it rightfully so. The crowd were totally into Bryan, as you expect. They did not want Triple H to win, as you expect. There was good heel heat there, and these two performed in the ring. They did what they were meant to do in this.
What they do.
Perform a good match with each other. And yeah, that's all I can really say. It was a great match. And
we had sort of like we had Ref down, and then we had Scott Armstrong come back. They're like, oh look, the fake. That was later on in the main event. Scott Armstrong. Was that in the main event?
Yeah, it wasn't in this match. But yeah, the actual finish this match was the flying knee onto Triple H. Yeah, they got the win there. Steph's face was, as you would expect, hilarious because she just could not believe that Daniel Bryan had actually beaten Triple H legit with no problems. After the match, Triple H takes a steel chair and rams it into Daniel Bryan's arm. As you would expect from the heel, he obviously does not want Bryan to win if Triple H isn't going to go in. As it would turn out, Triple H, as we thought, he might insert himself just regardless into the main event. He didn't, so a man of his word at very least. Yep. So yes, Daniel Bryan gets the big win. The crowd hot. Great first match. This lasted. I mean, with that opening segment in this match, it was probably about an hour and 10 minutes actually. Into the show,
it was like an hour in. It was just like,
yeah,
wow. That's 20, like we're 25% of the way through, and we've seen one match.
Yeah, the Bryan Triple H. I checked the actual timers. Bryan and Triple H was the longest match on the card. So
really,
yeah, it took the longest time. It just beat out the main event and Taker Lesnar.
It really didn't feel like it.
Yeah, it was all action. It really was. There was no very rare. That's what you get with Daniel Bryan in a match. You very rarely get any stops in the action. He's there. He's doing reversals. Always. Yeah. Triple H kept up with him well. You have to give him props for that. He didn't blow out. That's one thing you got to give about Triple H.
There was too many crossfaces.
Yeah, I think it told the story though with his shoulder.
It told the story, but it's just like he's just like locking in the crossface like nobody's ever done it before. Daniel Bryan does a crossface, but nobody mentioned that. It's just like, oh, and he's got him in a hold. It's like
they don't want to make any reference to Stevie Richards. So
I suppose.
Okay, so great match that one, and kudos to the pair of these guys. They went out and performed. Shield,
they set the pace.
They did set the pace, and unfortunately, it wasn't matched by a few other matches on the show. But we'll get into that. Yeah. Shield went against Kane and the Outlaws in what is essentially a glorified squash match. It was
it was essentially Reigns' Mania.
Yeah. Double spear, double, triple powerbomb, whatever you could call that thing.
Jumping kick to the apron.
Yeah, I actually don't see Kane and the Outlaws get an inch of offense in this entire match. It was a destruction of them. We said in our predictions that we thought Kane and the Outlaws would win. How wrong we were in the case of this match. But I don't see the Shield sticking around for months and months and months. They will eventually break up. They have to. Yeah. But they did, as you say, they did give the spotlight to Reigns, and rightly so. He is the next big guy that you put in there. But there's not really much
anything to it. It wasn't particularly amazing. It wasn't even an amazing match. I wouldn't even call it a good match.
No, it had its spots. So it had the the crowd into it because it had a lot of high flying, a lot of big moves. But it didn't have that build up, so it didn't mean as much. And I mean, when you look at it into perspective, the Shield versus Kane and Outlaws lasted roughly the same as the Divas Battle Royal, and that's quite a bad condemnation of how much time they got. Yeah, so so not really a match you want to catch, and it's a bit of a shame because I mean the Shield deserve better. They've had far better matches, on the card.
Especially considering they coming off the pace of like the previous pay-per-view being Elimination Chamber, and they had the Wyatts.
Yeah, Shield versus Wyatts.
That was just such a beautiful match. That was just a match in all definition of the word.
And it was.
They went into Mania and gave us that. It's like,
It was like with the Wyatts and the Shield match, they had the build up to it, and they wrestled. They had time to build up to that finale. It looks like in this match they just had the finale of whatever match that they planned. It seemed rushed, and it was It was what it was, and I just feel a bit sorry for the Shield. They deserve a little bit more time on Mania after all the good matches they've put in over the last 18 months.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
But regardless, it's not exactly we're going to cry for them. They're going to have great careers. It's not going to be an issue. They're going to go on and be champions. They're going to be absolutely fine.
At least we know that we've got 3 people in the Shield that we're going to see good matches from in the future.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. I mean, Daniel Bryan had 3 WrestleManias before this WrestleMania, and all of them, one of them was he was beaten 18 seconds, and one of them was on a pre-show. So, in all fairness, this isn't like, oh, they're never going to get a good match at Mania. That's just silly. Their time will come. It'll be fine.
Don't take it face value.
Yeah, exactly. The Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and that trophy was as big as you said. I almost didn't believe it. Yeah. Then the funny thing is that the actual trophy of Andre the Giant wasn't that big, but the whole base of it was like 4 foot.
I thought the base of it was bigger than the whole thing. Yeah.
Probably bigger than El Torito or Hornswoggle.
Yeah.
The 3 mystery entrants ended up just being, I think, Brad Maddox, Cesaro, and someone else. I thought maybe they would stick a couple of legends.
I saw David Otunga in it.
Yeah, I didn't see him advertised, so maybe he was it. It doesn't matter anyway. It wasn't anyone special that took up those slots apart from Cesaro, who probably wasn't in there.
So all these Rusev promos count for nothing.
Yeah, Rusev was nowhere to be seen. I said that if he was in it, it was my pick to win, but no, he was nowhere to be seen. So obviously his debut will be tomorrow. Today.
As we record it.
So. Yeah, in that sense, a little bit of a shame, but at the end of the day...
We couldn't really have predicted it, though. Especially... Yeah. But, that stank. Like, to begin with, that stank.
The first half of the match was awful. It really was. I mean...
And then you got down to about 10 people, and then it picked up a bit.
Yeah, when it got...
like we were saying, like, with the sort of the space in the ring. Just like, what do 30 people do? They can't do much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you got no space. I mean, I think there was a couple of times I was looking at Big Show, and he was trying to throw people out in the ring. He just didn't have the space to do it. So you had to there was one time he had Titus O'Neil, and he had him in like a stranglehold for a good minute because he was trying to look for somewhere. I need to eliminate this guy, but I've got no fucking space. Yeah. So that's one of the things about it.
Is it really wrong that you could see who was essentially leading the Royal?
Yeah.
It's like you could just tell Big Show's in charge in that.
Yeah.
Usually in a Rumble, you have the one person calling the shots and sort of how the Royal's going to go.
Yeah, the guy that keep it in check in the ring, yeah.
Yeah, and you can just tell, that's Show. Show's the one just being essentially the ring general.
Yeah, I mean, he's the most experienced guy there, so it makes sense. So that's fine. And like I said, the first half of this match, it did stink, but I mean, when it got down to, as you said, to the last 10 people, then it did get interesting, and you got the likes of Sheamus and Cesaro and Big Show and Rey Mysterio all kind of coming into their own, doing their own moves. It really did pick up once they had a space to do what they needed to do.
But we even got an obligatory Kofi dodging an elimination.
Yeah.
Which was clever.
Yeah,
it was clever.
It was, yeah. I mean, my wife thought that maybe he'd broken his leg and that's what he was pointing to. I thought that was pretty quick if he knew he'd broken his leg so quickly. But yeah, that was pretty good. I did enjoy that. But as we know with Kofi Kingston, he makes these elaborate entrance saves and he always gets eliminated.
Within the minute, he's out again.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, nothing different there from Kofi. He gets 2 of his Royal Rumble moments this year, so
that's it.
Yeah. But yes, towards the end of this match, the last 2 being Cesaro and the Big Show, and in a feat that I can only explain is more impressive than Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant, Cesaro lifts almost with ease.
Pretty much like a deadlift of Big Show.
Yeah. And he looks like he's fine, doesn't even have a problem, holds him for a couple of seconds, and then dumps him over the top rope to get the win. And then afterwards he sells the fact that he's puffed, but he looked like it was no issue whatsoever.
He looked $1 million.
The guy is a freak. There is absolutely... that was one of the moments that got me out of my, proverbial chair. I can't sit up, but, out of my chair, it really got me. It got me on the edge of my seat, and I was like, what the hell? That is absolutely insane. That's madness. But it got a huge pop, and as you expected. So, and Cesaro gets his big moment. We were always saying that we hope that Cesaro will get a good showing here, and he wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy, and he manages
which he had no problem lifting.
Yeah, even after he lifted the Big Show up. Man, he's just going to have to outdo himself. He's going to end up doing a double body slam on the Great Khali and Big Show at this point. I don't even know what this guy is capable of.
He's just going to have to go Stretch Armstrong just so he can double neutralizer people.
Yeah, exactly. This guy is just silly strong. I don't even know what's the limit with him? Like, how much can he go? Because I thought fair enough. I mean, you look at when John Cena lifts guys up, and he's a much bigger guy than Cesaro. He lifts up the Big Show, and he looks like he's having trouble holding him there. Or Brock Lesnar lifts up the Undertaker for NFI, looks like he's struggling, and then Cesaro just picks him up, dumps it.
Yeah, this fight just like Big Show, yeah, up, down.
Yeah. But the crowd are popping big for the for it. And,
but he got the handshake, and that's why I like that.
Yeah.
I was like, that's definitely like Big Show got your back sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and to be honest, I think Cesaro. We said this a while ago. Cesaro's turned the corner with all that debacle about people thinking that he was boring and the management thinking that he wasn't worth it. Man, that he can do stuff in the ring that no one else in the world can do.
That's it.
And if you got someone who can do that, then fair play. The guy was really hot on this, and
definitely turned it around for himself.
Yeah, and obviously you can expect a real Americans rivalry leading out of WrestleMania now, which makes sense. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So, the next match was Bray Wyatt versus Cena. I labelled this as the potential show stealer of the event. It was not the show stealer. It was alright. It was okay. The first half of the match I didn't think was that impressive. They kind of sacrificed match quality to tell the story. And it wasn't the story of in the ring, it was telling the story leading up.
Yeah.
However, towards the end, things did pick up a little bit more, and the match got of good quality. It was decent. It was. I hate saying stuff like this when we critique things. It was still worth watching. It was still alright. It was a WrestleMania match. It was fine. But
it was a good match.
But it wasn't the show stealer. It really wasn't.
That's it.
It wasn't as good as Wyatt's match with Bryan, which was one of the best matches of the year so far. At the Royal Rumble, but yeah, I think that the whole story of this being that Cena was losing it, he kept going and rubbing his head and looking like he was snapping all the time. Bray Wyatt wanted him to show that he was a monster and gave him a chair.
It's sort of like the amount of times that sort of Bray Wyatt would just sort of like just kneel down and just like do it. All you got to do is just be that monster. Like you can finish it.
Yeah,
because it's that sort of thing. It's like the moment you reveal your true self, I've won.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't matter if he loses then at that point. And that's one thing that I've said watching it, who I count as my ambassador for a general wrestling fan. That if that were to happen, then in the storyline, Bray Wyatt would win even if he got pinned. But it didn't happen that way. John Cena overcame the demons and gave Wyatt the I was about to say the attitude adjustment, and got the win. And he did it under his own terms. So. Yeah, unfortunately, my prediction was correct for this match, because whenever they want to try and put Cena's legacy or his career or anything in jeopardy, they always give Cena.
I was wrong.
Yeah, wishful thinking there, Matt. But
yeah,
it was unfortunate. But I do see that this rivalry will continue to Extreme Rules, and I don't think that Cena will win at Extreme Rules. I think it'll probably be.
I think it will probably be a case of once they get to Extreme Rules, Cena can do the whole I'm going to unleash this monster because it's no disqualification.
Yeah, and then he gets beaten up because the whole Wyatt family will get involved and everything.
Yeah.
I will say though that in terms of entrances, Wyatt really was rivaling Triple H for best entrance of the night.
Yeah, that dance was weird.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was about. I mean, I know New Orleans is a big voodoo central, the birthplace of voodoo apparently. So interesting with that, but I didn't think that had anything to do with Bray Wyatt specifically.
Yeah.
But regardless, it was good.
Yeah, the band.
Yeah, and the performance of the band was good. I think the band was better than Rev Theory in terms of doing their intro. One thing that I did notice that they didn't label or say anything about the names of the bands that were doing the.
No, they just let them play and just there's no mention of who they are. Just on they go.
Yeah, which would seem very odd. I mean, whenever they had Motorhead or Limp Bizkit or anyone like that doing entrances, they've always made a reference to them, and often they'll do album plugs and stuff like this, but no such case.
Well, the fact that we didn't get a compliment like an obligatory, this is the theme song, so we're going to have him play.
Yeah.
I would not have wanted to see Eminem or Chris Rock. What's I about to say? Chris Rock, Kid Rock.
Chris Rock, dude. Yeah,
Chris Rock. I'll see Chris Rock at WrestleMania. That'd be funny. That'd be great. But no, I wouldn't have wanted to see Kid Rock or Eminem. To be fair.
No. It would have been better than Machine Gun Kelly at WrestleMania 28, but let's not talk about that, shall we? But regardless, this match was okay. It's worth watching, but it wasn't the show stealer that I thought it could have been. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's it.
In that case, I'm a little bit disappointed. But you take it for what it is. It was still good. It was still enjoyable. It was still alright.
It was a good WrestleMania match.
It was good. Yeah, it was alright.
But it's the crowd. Yet again, the crowd. Especially the amount of times it's just like everyone's singing "The Whole World in His Hands." And it's just like why it's over.
Yeah, good crowd in New Orleans. Regardless of what happened. The
Mania crowd are always good.
And there was a lot of good flags there. There was a Leeds United fan in one of the front rows, so a lot of English fans there, as there is at WrestleMania season. So fair play. I always like the English contingent going over and showing people how you really cheer in a WWE.
What's this? A sporting event? I'll show you how to cheer.
Yeah. Take notes, Baltimore. Come on. So okay. Here's our big subject of the podcast. I think the main one that I think everyone wants us to talk about, and all our subscribers and everyone, probably more than ever, it's probably our most anticipated subject that we ever will talk about on the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast, and one that me and Matt haven't spoken to a lot in length, but we did talk a little bit last night, obviously.
I think most of the talking last night was essentially just what the fuck, why the hell, what is going on here, why?
So, let's go. I'm going to explain the facts first. I'm going to explain the match, and then we can go into our things. I hate talking about something and then going back and trying to explain it. It's a bit confusing. So, right. The streak. Taker against Brock Lesnar. Taker had quite a cool entrance where he had loads of caskets set up. Brock Lesnar was the latest one, and he set it on fire. It was a very symbolic of him destroying
what happened. To be perfectly honest, it's a symbolic sign of how the match ended.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Like, you don't need a coffin.
The match itself was probably the poorest that Taker has had in probably about 10 years.
That was like the poorest entrance as well. Like, I like the whole coffin thing, but that was terrible.
Yeah, it was.
And you consider like the year. I think the year before was better with the whole sort of like Walking Dead hands like reaching from hell sort of thing.
Yeah, that was quite good. I didn't mind this entrance as much personally. I think it was okay, but
you had to do the whole walk. That took forever.
Yeah, the entrance itself was a very, very lengthy one, but as you would expect from an Undertaker entrance. But so. Like we said, the match quality itself was very, very poor. These guys never got going, and the problem was that they never had a spot in this match. You know, they never had like a build-up and then a big spot, and then the crowd got back into it. There was just way too much of nothing going on.
Yeah.
And the crowd. Well, the longer I said this to yourself last night, and this happens for any match that you're in. The longer it takes for a crowd to get in a match, the harder it is to get them into the match eventually. So they wasted way too long before the crowd legitimately got interested. And it was only really at the final blows of this match that the crowd got a little bit into it, but there's nowhere near the crowd response. I actually went back and watched the Shawn Michaels Taker match, the first one. You know, a lot of people label that as the best match of all time, yourself included. And it was nowhere near the crowd response to that. And this was a good crowd, you know, so it wasn't so much that they didn't want to chant. It's just there wasn't much
for this match to essentially just kill the crowd.
He did, and as if you couldn't put any more, if you couldn't kill the crowd, if you couldn't put a pin in the balloon any more than you could. Brock Lesnar, F5's Taker for the third time. Everyone expects Undertaker in classic form to kick out, but he does not. And Brock Lesnar breaks the streak. He wins. He wins, and Paul Heyman looks as shocked as anyone else in the crowd that Brock actually managed to do it. And the thing is, with the way that the match went, it was more of a shock of it. Wow, it really finished, rather than oh my god, this warrior has earned it. Sort of shock. They went with it. I don't think anyone was like, oh, imagine if Shawn Michaels had beaten him.
It just sucks because like I would have expected to be like on the edge of my seat at that point. I wasn't. I was slumped back in the sofa. Like this match bored me.
It did, yeah.
And it was just like, oh, it's over.
Would you agree with this?
And then it sets in, and you're like, oh. Shit.
Yeah, they actually did it. Yeah. The main question I'd point to you before we actually critique the actual ending of the match, what it means that the streak is broken, is that if you think that you go back, I think it's obviously 5 years now to WrestleMania 25. Shawn Michaels in that fabled match, if he had beaten the streak in that match, I think he would have been cheered.
Yes.
And that's the difference. In this match,
I think any match up until I think any match up to this point, like even if they did the streak versus career the year after that in 26, so maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But I think during like the Triple H matches as well, was sort of like they earned the win.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was well fought.
Yeah, it was a battle, and in those matches, they managed to suspend the belief and make you think, "Wow, he might lose here." I never thought that in this match, and it wasn't like,
literally the safest I've ever been. Like just watching it, just like Taker's winning.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, we said in our predictions there was absolutely no way that Brock Lesnar will win this match. So we're going to our reasons
Clever
why.
WWE, you keep us on our toes.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about our reasons why we think this is wrong, why we think that WWE have had a major mess up here, and what this means for Undertaker's careers going forward. First of all, before people get annoyed, and a few people are saying, "Oh, this loss makes WrestleMania 31 the most memorable of all time." Possibly, maybe it does, but I don't have any problem with Undertaker losing. I don't have any problem with having the streak ended. I really don't. And in fact, I thought that you could use it as a way to push the next push your next world champion, push your next big star. And I'm just going to put a few instances out there, either Bray Wyatt or Roman Reigns. Your next two big things in that company, right? Now, people might have said, well, Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt, they're too early. No one would have thought, at least Brock Lesnar is this hulking behemoth of a beast. They built him up to be this guy that's going to destroy the streak, and he did.
Yep.
But you could have easily have had Triple H beat Brock Lesnar this year, and then you pick Roman Reigns or Bray Wyatt or whoever you think is going to be the next big guy, and you've got 12 months for it. You can say on the Raw afterwards, that guy says the streak, no one thinks the streak will be ended. He beat Brock Lesnar. But I'm saying now, 12 months before next year's WrestleMania, I'm challenging The Undertaker. And this year, I'm going to train. I'm going to fight all these different people to get to The Undertaker. And that's his end goal. And then you can have this guy. Then it is a little bit more believable that this guy has taken 12 months while The Undertaker's been sitting around doing nothing, training, getting ready to break the streak. And then he does. And then it's like his calling card for the rest of his career that he can say to people, for instance, you look at Chris Jericho when he won the first unified, the Undisputed Championship. How many times in his career did he say, "I was the first Undisputed Champion"? It was a calling card for him, and it made him seem more of a competitor.
Yeah.
How big would it have been for Bray Wyatt or Roman Reigns or whoever your next big star is to say, "I was the man who broke the streak," and he's got that then for the next 15 years of his career. So my argument isn't that he lost; it's who he lost it to.
Yes.
So you've lost it to a guy. This is my most poignant line. Yeah, you've lost it to a guy who's not going to make you millions of dollars, but a guy that you have to pay millions of dollars just to be on the show. Yeah. That's the problem. Okay. So your next Roman Reigns, your next Bray Wyatt, whoever you want to be,
who are now drawing in crowds.
The guy who in the next 15 years is going to main event WrestleMania as the guy who beat the streak. That no longer is able.
It's not
Brock Lesnar is probably not going to be around for many more years. I don't see him as being a guy who's going to be like a lifer. He's not going to come in every single week and say, "I beat the streak," and he's going to keep main eventing the next 4 WrestleManias. It's not going to happen. That's not how he does things. So you've wasted what could possibly be one of the biggest instant pushes that you could give someone on a guy who doesn't need it.
That's it.
That's my issue with Brock Lesnar beating Undertaker for the streak, and the fact that the match quality was just way too low for the streak to end in that match.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, as I said, it's like, you'd want to be on the edge of your seat when that sort of thing happened, but it's sort of like the pacing of the match, just everything about it was just slow and terrible. And like they mentioned it a lot on the commentary team. Like Undertaker had the Hell's Gate locked in twice, and it's like not a single point did he actually get up.
Yeah, he was on the floor for a good 5 minutes. Yeah,
sucking air. It's just like, and it just wasn't a good showing. I think with Lesnar, you get what you get. That was Lesnar's style pace of wrestling. That's fine, but that wasn't what you'd expect from the Undertaker. Not from an Undertaker match when the bar has been set so high. That's it, and you're sort of just like, this is just terrible. Yeah. I think the reason why maybe Brock Lesnar had a great match with CM Punk, and he did have one of the matches of the year last year with CM Punk, is because you need to have one guy that's big and powerful, but you need to have someone else who's going to do all of the high spots and the quickness. Yeah. Well, that's how it was, because you had Punk against Lesnar, and like you had Punk sort of like picking up the pace and getting all of his like swinging neck breakers and all of his elbow drop and all things like that. and everyone's like, yes, 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 massive clothesline. Fuck.
Yeah.
But there was none of that.
There was no. There was no rally here, which was a bit of a shame. There was no late charge from the Undertaker. Yeah, he did get a tombstone in, but it was sort of out of nowhere.
He got his sit up. It was the worst tombstone I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was a pretty crap tombstone. And,
you could have fit Lesnar's head in that gap.
Yeah.
Like if Lesnar had like just a hat on, then it might have been dented.
Yeah. But he does have a giant nut, of course, Brock Lesnar. So
True.
He needs to keep his nut down. Ooish. But regardless, this match, it wasn't good, and it means that one of the biggest attractions of WrestleMania, one of the biggest, the build up, the streaks, and one of the biggest sort of fabled streaks in wrestling is gone, and it didn't end in a storied fashion. It just ends with Brock Lesnar. It didn't
end in like sort of like the whole terms of like it didn't end in like a sort of big old flame or anything like that. It just burnt out.
Yeah, it's almost like it didn't blow out. It wasn't an atomic bomb. It was someone blowing out a candle.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is a shame.
Oh, just the one thing I hate is the fact that I'm now seeing. I don't know if you've spotted it, like people on Facebook and all these various posts and threads and blogs and all that lot, and they're just like, "Oh, yeah, well, it was meant to not finish that way, but like Lesnar didn't let him kick out." I was like,
no,
really? Like
no.
Lesnar went against script and now he's going to get fired? I don't think so.
Listen, right? If that were to happen, right? I mean, I'm under no illusion. That's probably happened before in some sort of wrestling capacity. But the fact is that the commentators were talking. They were prepared for that ending. The cameras were prepared for that ending. Paul Heyman was prepared for that ending. How quickly did he get in that ring as soon as that 3 count was done and have his hands on his head? So, of course it was planned. The fact that even with Undertaker walking out, it was planned. That whole thing. The long walk of him walking back to the up the ramp, that was planned. That's the reason why they had the camera ready there to trace him walking up.
Follow the whole thing, yeah.
Exactly. It was planned. The only way you can say that is if the presentation of the show doesn't support that ending of the match, but it did. They had all the camera angles, they had the commentators on cue. Just how quickly Paul Heyman got in that ring, he knew that match was over then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Heyman can't move that quick anyway, but he was fucking in that ring quick after that final F5. So no, that's bullspit. It really is.
That's it. Well, speaking of bullspit, did you not hear the bullshit chant?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Yeah,
that was just. Oh.
And the crowd were dead, as dead as the streak was.
That's it. And
the crowd were gone.
But they just couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But don't worry, everybody. The best thing next. You'll really look down and you're really in the dumps.
Yeah.
Something more lighthearted. Divas. Great. Fucking brilliant. Nobody wanted to see the Divas anyway.
Yeah,
but we get that after that. I was just like,
Just before we move on to the Divas, and like I said, I kind of do feel a bit bad for them. I do, because you can't. How can you follow what just happened there, and get the crowd ready? It just doesn't make it. You can't do it. But in finality with this, like I said, I don't have any problem with Undertaker losing the streak. In fact, I endorsed it. I was one of the people. A lot of people were saying to me, "No, it can never be finished. If the streak gets broken, the streak gets ended, then it'll be the worst thing in the world." I said, "No, it isn't. This is a tool that you can use, to build your next world champ, your next John Cena,
that's it, your next big guy."
Yeah, and that's something that no one can ever take away from him. And in finality, that's what I would think of it. It's not that you lost; it's who it's to. That it's a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would say here is that you're either going to see one or two things. You might have Undertaker come back next year and avenge his loss against Brock Lesnar.
I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that. I don't think it'll be a good match.
I think they should literally just call it, it's done. Yeah,
I think now the streak's done, he retires. I think, and by the way it finished, it makes it seem as well that it was, they did the same thing with Austin.
That was a final walk. Yeah.
Like Austin did the same thing. Like no one knew that was his final match when it happened. Everyone was expecting him to wrestle more, but he knew it was his final match. So they had the very long, after the match, sort of silent send-off, shall we say, to the crowd. But I wouldn't put it out of the realm of him wrestling maybe one more WrestleMania to get his revenge loss. But that's either the two things that are going to happen here. That he may end up ending his career, avenging his one loss at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, and then retiring then, or he just will retire now. Either is good for me. As much as I've seen all I really want to see out of Taker Lesnar, I think this is probably the best that they could do, looking at them actually in the ring.
But it was,
either or, it goes from here. So I think WWE dropped the ball with losing the streak. I think, like I said, the streak should have ended. But to your next big guy, I think
It's
Brock
like they
Lesnar
lost.
was that guy.
They lost it in a wrong way.
In a couple of years, when Brock Lesnar decides that he doesn't want to do wrestling anymore, maybe goes to movies
Back
or
to
UFC or whatever,
yeah,
they're going to be looking at
movies.
this and thinking, why did we use it on him? He's
That's
gone.
it.
We can't
and it's
use
just
it now.
gone to waste.
Yeah. So it made the show memorable. I'm not arguing that, but for a wasted opportunity in my eyes, and it wasn't a good match. If it was a good match, maybe it wouldn't have stung as much.
Yeah.
So, Divas, we finally get onto this. The filler match, as it usually is between the two big main events at the end of the WrestleMania card, was a clusterfuck. It was everything that we said it was going to be.
Yep.
It was horrendous. There was nothing really good here. In fact, I took a piss break during this. So, did you watch it all, Matt, or did you take your piss break?
I watched it all.
Wow, Bizarro World.
I figured it would take forever for Undertaker to make his way to the back up to the ramp. So I went then.
You were still in a stunned silence.
That's it.
As the way it goes. So we did get this prediction right. That AJ Lee retained the belt. There was way too many faces to have a face win here.
That's it.
She did the was it? She calls it the Black Widow or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her underwear got quite shown. The red panties.
Never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing with AJ Lee. But yeah, she did get the win here. Tamina had like this bit where she was going to go for the Superfly Splash, but then she got chucked off. It was a lot of clusterfuck here. Way too much. Even when I say way too much time given to Eva Marie, she wasn't given that much time, but even then, too much time given to Eva Marie in the ring.
Any time given to Eva Marie is too much time.
That's it. And it was what it was. It was horrendous. It was about 7 minutes, I think, in length, and even that was way too much. There was nothing really shown from anyone here of what they could do, and I would have much preferred a one-on-one match. I would have preferred them build up whoever they want on the Total Divas, because they want one of the Total Divas to win the belt. Build them up over the last month to be AJ Lee's ultimate rival, make it personal, and then you have their one-on-one match. It would have been a lot more. It would. I mean, even then, with what the plans that they had, they wouldn't have ever got anything out of that crowd. That crowd was stunned at Overtaker losing to Brock Lesnar. So, Lee said about that match the better. AJ Lee, like I said, she did retain.
I picked it apart. I was literally just like, I'm not gonna. I already knew I wasn't gonna like it.
Yeah.
But I literally just like, fuck this.
Yeah. Okay, Matt, bury this match. Get your shovel out.
I can't. No, don't make me do it.
You don't want to waste your words.
That's it. I was just like,
so many words negative have been said about the Divas on this podcast, but when they book matches and do it like this, then can you really blame us? Really, can you?
No, you set yourself up for this, WWE.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not as if they don't have good wrestlers in the ring. When you've got Tamina, AJ, Natalya. Summer Rae can be a good wrestler if she's put with the right person. You had Emma in there. You do have good wrestlers in there. They just chose not to.
That's it. Wouldn't use them.
Yeah. So the main event of the evening.
Yep.
Daniel Bryan coming out quite battered, obviously from the chair shot earlier on in the night against Orton and Bautista.
That's it.
That got quite a few boos.
Yeah, we had Red for Theory. That was very just thinking. Because obviously Batista didn't actually have his pyro.
Yeah, this was quite
And there wasn't a lot of pyro in this event.
No, there wasn't. You think Batista gets his pyro on Raw, so it's quite odd that he didn't get anything at all, pyro whatsoever. And there was a bit actually where the stage blacked out, and I thought, okay, this is where they're going to do it and showcase it, because
like
got
a massive one, yeah.
But then it was just the spotlight being put on him, which I thought wasn't nearly as good, but. Maybe that's the Batista character he does now. When he was here, he didn't have that pyro. He just had the spotlight on him, so maybe
that's it.
He did. Yeah, as you said, Orton and Red Theory going out. I didn't think it was that good. I always think that vocalist is having one hell of he had too much of a rough night. His throat hurts something. I don't know. Maybe. Bryan, as we would expect, he got pretty much battered all the way through this match to get him out of the match, so Orton and Batista could take up the majority of the time. I understand it. Bryan already had his match. It makes sense. I don't have too much of a problem with this. The crowd were dead for a lot of this match, but towards the end they did pick up, and I have to give props to Triple H for getting them back into this match. As soon as him and Steph came down to try and screw Bryan, the crowd got back into it again. You know, they started jeering, they started cheering for Bryan, and there was a very huge part of this match that happened. I'll kind of get myself in a chronological order here. First of all, Bryan did his suicide dive out and hit the corrupt referee Scott Armstrong, the guy who said that he fast counted Daniel Bryan before, and Triple H, and he did hit Steph, didn't he?
He caught Stephanie,
yeah, and Stephanie was grasping her ankle as if she had hurt it. So all three of them got ejected out of the match. There, and then one of the probably the most extreme spot on the actual show, Batista did a Batista powerbomb on Daniel Bryan through a table.
RKO.
Okay,
it was just
through a
wow.
table. Bryan looked like he was obviously. I mean, it's quite a hefty bump, but the bump actually looked worse for Randy Orton, who landed back first onto a monitor.
Who put himself in it?
Yeah,
that was the one thing I just didn't quite understand. It was just like, I'm essentially just going to RKO myself through a table. Yep.
And Batista's standing there and he's wasting time, for a good 5 minutes after that, not really
Yeah,
attacking anyone. I think Jerry Lawler said it best. I think, and he said, like, they're all saying, I think we need medical attention. And Lawler said best. Often he's not on the ball and often he kind of goes for the ride. But he did a JBL here. He had a bit of common sense. He said, why isn't Batista getting someone into the ring and pinning them? It was like, yeah, of course. Like, he could pick either one and he could get the win.
Get this done. Yeah. It's like, no.
But Randy Orton's back was bleeding, obviously, from landing on that monitor. I thought he could be injured. He could still be. He might not even know that he's injured. We don't know. It looked like a really bad fall that he had, landing on that monitor. But he completed the rest of the match regardless. Bryan came back, kind of fired back. He gave Orton the big knee and then locked in the yes lock onto Batista. Mm-hmm. And before Orton could get in, Batista taps out. And we have a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Daniel Bryan gets the double win. And obviously the big payoff. Yeah, it was. Now the problem is I don't think that the crowd were as into the end of the payoff because of the Taker stuff, but they still gave him the good old yes chant. It wasn't nearly as big as when he came out and beat Triple H, but he still
what you mean, the opening one? It was not even close.
Yeah. We had a little girl come into the ring. I'm guessing it was a Make-A-Wish girl that came to the ring.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I don't think it was his family or anything. I didn't know if he has any family like that. But Brie Bella wasn't allowed down there, and she's his fiance, so that's the way it goes.
That's it. It's like, nope, you don't get to.
So,
kayfabe.
Yeah, kayfabe.
But kayfabe's dead. Kayfabe.
Well, no, even with that, they've already referenced the fact that Brie Bella and them are getting married on TV, so it wouldn't be an issue. But yeah, I actually thought if you had Brie Bella come out, I thought it would have made it like a little bit more of a celebration for Bryan. He looked a little bit lonely in the ring, I have to say, there on his own. But 2 big gold belts around his waist, he celebrates and gets the victory. It was the payoff that we want. It's the right thing to do, and he overcame the Authority as it goes. And then the storyline gets its ending as we are here.
That's it.
And obviously he will rival with either Batista or Randy Orton leading into Extreme
Got
Rules.
what we wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the one thing I will say is that those 2 belts make Bryan look very, very small.
Yeah,
it's always
that's it. Especially considering like the heavyweight title was probably the size of his torso.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're going to do with those belts. I always think that if you're going to amalgamate them, you should do it now and make them into one.
Yeah.
Especially Bryan being the face to being the one to do it, so that makes sense. But yeah. Fair enough. Good match. This one at the end, it did what it was there to do. And like I said, that spot was pretty crazy. The Batista RKO through the table.
Yeah.
So pretty
much. I was just like, ooh, nasty.
So, yeah, that's how the match closed off with Bryan with tons of confetti coming down, almost so much confetti that we couldn't see him on the camera. But regardless,
just lost in a sea of it. Yeah.
So big ending, big pyro at the end for Daniel Bryan. It was his WrestleMania. It was his moment, and it like I said, it culminates that story quite nicely. So give WWE props to that. So Matt, in entirety, do you think this WrestleMania was a memorable one?
Yes.
I think so too. Now, regardless of all the reasons we've said about why we think it might be memorable for the wrong reasons, regardless, it was memorable, and it was the 30th anniversary WrestleMania.
It's good.
There was some good stuff on this WrestleMania. There was some bad stuff. The big talking point, as we said, was Undertaker Brock Lesnar thing.
Easily.
If you guys, obviously you guys will have an opinion. If you're wrestling fans, you will have an opinion about this. Let us know in the comments.
Everyone should have an opinion.
Yeah. Do you think that we're wrong? Do you think that Brock Lesnar is the right guy to break the streak? Do you think the streak shouldn't have ended? And were you sad not to see one Steve Borden, aka Sting, come out maybe during this match and tease a match with Undertaker in the future? Which, for my record, looks like it's never going to happen now this has happened.
Yeah, that's it. I mentioned this to you earlier. I was just sort of like, will it happen? It's like, oh, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because I don't see Undertaker doing the streak's over. It's done.
Yeah.
And you could just pretty much call it that. It's like whatever it is, it's still 21-1.
Yeah. You can't get away from that. And a lot of people saying this a lot about the it wasn't planned. Brock Lesnar went against the rules. They had that 21-1 Titantron bit up very fucking quickly. I was
ready to go.
Either someone is really, really good with image manipulation, or that was what it was planned, and it was what.
Well, granted, it probably can't be too difficult to suddenly just like pop up just like someone waiting there with a cursor, just like click one. But I don't know.
Sometimes it can be harder than you think for someone that does image manipulation. Even for the podcast in a relatively minor format, but still sometimes it can be, especially with all the because it wasn't just a picture; it was obviously like a video with like a background on it. So yes, WrestleMania. It was the main question we asked for pay-per-views. Was it worth a pay-per-view purchase? Yes, it was.
It's Mania. It always is.
Yeah, it was better than last year in my opinion. I do have to admit that I think last year was a really poor Mania. This one was better. And my Match of the Night award goes to Bryan and Triple H.
Easily.
Show. My dud of the night has to go to Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar.
Really?
For the way that
you'd say that was dud of the night over.
We knew the Divas was going to be shit. We thought this. We thought this could have been. We thought it would be
so
better.
Much more.
And if they were going to break the streak in the way they did, they had to have had a better match to end it with, and they didn't. So, anything else you'd like to add about our review for WrestleMania, Matt?
No, I've got nothing left to add.
I think we've been quite thorough as we can be on the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. I hope you guys do enjoy this episode of Let's Talk Wrestling, the WrestleMania review, very special episode. However, this weekend's episode, we're going to have a monster podcast.
Because it's the Raw After Mania.
The Raw After Mania. We've got our wrestling news, of which there's going to be a bunch of after WrestleMania. We might even have a huge whole segment just on our wrestling news of the week. No TNA review this week because there is absolutely no way I'm going to be able to keep up with TNA this week. Which is kind of good. That means I don't have to see Willow again, so that's fine. And obviously our Superstar Spotlight will be with Daniel Bryan. So we're going to review this guy's rise to the main event of WrestleMania 30 right from the beginning to his double win at WrestleMania.
So basically, as the video package put it.
Yeah, but in beautiful audio format on the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. My name is Turbo Tony. You've been brilliant, Matt Marsander, as you are always.
Well, thank you.
To all of our new subscribers and subscribers that have been with us all along, thanks a lot for joining us here. We hope that you enjoyed WrestleMania regardless. As we said on the last episode, we hope that you will enjoy every show. We want you to be entertained, and we hope you enjoyed this show here on the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast.
Whether you like it or not, WWE's there to entertain.
Yeah, and whether you like it or not, come listen to us rant about it. It's fine.
It's completely acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thanks for sharing this time with us here today. If you are new and this is one of the first ones that you've watched on the podcast, why not subscribe? Come along this train ride with us. We're growing, and we're really excited for where this podcast is going. And who knows? Maybe on Raw we'll get more Stephanie sex noises.
That's it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think we'll get that.
No, maybe not.
Then we just get Stephanie disappointment.
Yeah. So, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you at the weekend.
That's it.
Bye-bye.
Catch you soon.